Hi, guys. So, I am going to talk to you about attention getters, and this is probably the least important, and I'm hoping it's going to move over. This is probably the least important thing of your essay, an attention getter, but at the same time, it's just if that's something that you can start quickly and to get the ball rolling, then it will really help. This is taking so long. It will really help your essays and maybe your confidence. And, if you come out of the gate seeming really confident, then that's helpful in writing your essays. Even though technically, do you have to have an attention getter when you're writing in May? No, you do not. But in life, in college, in every other essay that you write, yeah, you probably do. So I would recommend that you do them if you can, if it'll ever load. Wow, this is taking forever. Anyway, there are five types of attention getters, and like to talk to you about them this morning. And then you can take a quick little quiz to see how you did, and then your assignment will be to find examples in op-eds. So those op-eds are like opinion columns, and it has to be by a person and not by the editorial board. And we'll talk about that tomorrow. I need you to just find two examples and tell me what kind they are. But it's pretty important to understand these because, number one, if you understand that something is an attention getter and is really not part of the article, you maybe won't go astray when you're reading articles or when you're reading something. And but also at the same time, if you use attention getters, it's just a fast, easy way to start. In your introductory paragraph, the only two things you should ever have is an attention getter and a thesis, nothing else. So the first kind of attention getter is famous person. I'm sorry, these are really old slides, and I just didn't feel like redoing them. That's such small font. But anyway, people like to know what celebrities say and do, and dropping the name of a famous person at the beginning usually gets the reader's attention. Now, it can be a good person, it can be a bad person, it can be something shocking about that person. A lot of times, let's say years ago at a Father of the Year essay contest, a student started his essay with, "My father may not be Bill Cosby." That's how long ago that was. Bill Cosby was still considered a great father. So, and he may have been a great father. But anyway, you just start out with somebody, you compare it to something because famous people are something that we all have in common. And not only are we curious about them, but at the same time, it's like a common element that we have. So we all know that Hitler was evil, and we all know the type of person the Pope is, and we all know that's a commonality that we have. And so it's usually a good idea to start with that if you can work it in. Now, it's also a good idea to end with this. So a lot of you are going to say, well, what do I do for my conclusions? So if you have a good attention getter, conclusions are really easy. So famous person is one way to start it. One way I talked about in class is to use if you know a famous quote from somebody, then you could mention that quote. Martin Luther King once said, "I have a dream." And then if you can transition into what this other person's dream or whatever it is that you're talking about. So you could use it that way. But famous people are just one really quick, easy way to start. Now, the trick, though, is to be able to transition into your thesis statement. Okay, the next type is a historical review. And I'm going to say this is the one that most of you should use most of the time in academic writing. Academic writing being APUSH and A.P. Lang. For sure. That you just kind of give a broad historical review of the topic. So it's not about history. It's about why are we even talking about this topic today, right? What's going on? Maybe give a little background about if your prompt was the one about Paine. Sure, Paine said this, but let's look at how Paine's world was and then go into your thesis. Or the safe versus free, maybe a quick little why are we even talking about safe versus free today? And this is ironic in the time of Corona when we're all having to wear masks. Is it better to be safe or free? We're all wearing masks. So just a quick review of the topic. So it's not technically history, but it's a review of why you're talking about this particular topic. And you cannot say, oh, I just got this, this prompt that asked me about this. That's not it. That doesn't work. Next time is a declarative statement. And just about most Newspaper articles will have declarative statements. So if you look at some of the articles of the week, or anything that comes from a newspaper, it's generally just a declarative statement because their point is to get everything they can into the first paragraph. And if you want to read more, you can, but they just need the who, what, when, where, why, and how. But that is not your point. So you may not use declarative statements in your attention getters. I would say a student should never use this particular technique, but it is a technique. So I don't want to tell you that you can't use it. I mean, I'm telling you can't, but in the future you can. Okay, anecdote is just a small story that leads into the topic of your paper. And it shouldn't be a big episode with like quotes and everything back and forth, but for sure, little stories help. So if you help better understand, many famous orators in time used stories to make their point because people remember stories, so they're memorable. So it's always a good idea if you have a little story that brings you around to the topic about whatever it is that you're talking about. And so that's always a good idea too. So then you have surprising statements. Surprising statements, there's lots of ways to use surprising statements as an introductory technique. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's shocking, sometimes it's just surprising because it might help profanity or whatever. Some professional writers, really a lot of professional writers, have really used this, and you can too. And I would not recommend that you use profanity, but every once in a while, it might connect. If they're asking you to write about something in your school and you're going to start with a quote, like a dialogue between two students, it might include profanity. However, for the most part, it's just surprising things. So I would say even that Mitch Albom article that you guys are emulating this week that starts with "I am not a woman." But it's also surprising. Like, okay, who didn't know that? It's not a declarative statement because that's not what the article is about. That he's not a woman. The article is about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but it surprised us the way he started. That's not the normal way people would start, and so that's another one. So those are your 5 attention getters, and I want you to try to use one. And also, I'm going to tell you right now, there should never be anything in your introductory paragraph except an attention getter and a thesis. Attention getter, thesis. All right, go take the quiz. I know somewhere I'm going to be able to stop this.